I need to start by telling you that I am not a nervous person. I grew up in a house where the doors were never locked. Small town, quiet street, the kind of neighborhood where people left casseroles on each other's porches and nobody thought twice about it. Fear, real fear, the kind that lives in your chest and won't leave, was not something I had ever experienced before that night. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand the distance between who I was before and who I am now. That distance is exactly one night wide. It was February. I was 26, living alone for the first time in a one-bedroom apartment on the third floor of a building I'd chosen, specifically because it had a security door downstairs. Buzzer entry. Camera in the lobby. The kind of building that made you feel safe without ever having to think about why you needed to feel safe. My boyfriend was out of town for work. He'd be back Thursday. It was Tuesday. I remember that specifically. Tuesday. 2 days felt like nothing at the time. It doesn't feel like nothing anymore. I'd spent the evening the way I spent most evenings that winter. On the couch, laptop open, half watching something on TV while answering emails I'd been putting off. Around 10 o'clock, I closed the laptop, washed my face, and got into bed. I was asleep by 10:30. I woke up at 2:47 a.m. I know the exact time because I looked at my phone the moment my eyes opened, the way you do when something pulls you out of sleep and you need to orient yourself. The room was dark, the building was quiet, and someone was trying my front door. Not knocking, not ringing the buzzer, trying the handle, slowly, carefully, the way you do when you don't want to make noise. 3 times. A soft rattle, a pause, another rattle, a pause, one more, then nothing. I lay completely still in my bed and did not breathe. My mind went through the list of explanations the way it always does. Wrong floor, drunk neighbor, someone locked out of their own apartment, the building settling, my imagination. Then I heard the scratching. It was coming from the doorframe, low down near the bottom. A slow, methodical sound, like something being dragged along the wood, back and forth, back and forth. It went on for almost 4 minutes. I counted, not because I was not calm, but because counting was the only thing keeping me from screaming. My phone was in my hand. I had 911 pulled up. My thumb was on the call button. I didn't press it. I don't know why. I think part of me was still convinced there was an explanation. That if I called the police and it turned out to be a neighbor's cat or a maintenance issue or something embarrassing and ordinary, I would feel foolish. I was 26 and I was alone. And somewhere in my chest there was still the ghost of the girl who grew up on the unlocked street, who believed that things like this didn't actually happen to people like her. That girl kept me frozen in that bed for 4 minutes while something scratched at my door in the dark. Then it stopped. Complete silence. The kind that's louder than sound. I waited 5 minutes. 10. The building stayed quiet. My heart did not. At some point, I got up. I don't remember deciding to. I just found myself standing in the hallway in my socks, back against the wall staring at the door. The deadbolt was locked. The chain was on. I had done that automatically before bed, the way I always did without thinking about it. I stood there and looked at that chain for a long time. Then I looked down. There was something on the floor. Just inside the door, on my side, pushed through the gap at the bottom. A small piece of paper, folded once. I stared at it for a very long time before I picked it up. It was a photograph of my living room, taken from inside my apartment, from the corner near the window. I could see the couch, the lamp, the blanket I'd left folded over the armrest, the laptop on the coffee table, my coffee mug from that morning still on the side table next to the couch. The timestamp in the corner of the photo said it had been taken 11 days ago. I called 911. The police came. They were thorough and professional and kind and completely unable to explain how someone had been inside my apartment, taken that photograph, left without a trace, and then come back 11 days later. The locks were not tampered with. The windows were intact. The building's security camera in the lobby had a gap in its footage. 47 minutes, 11 days prior, that the building manager described as a system glitch. Nobody had a key except me and my boyfriend. My boyfriend, who I called at 3:30 in the morning, who answered on the second ring, who sounded genuinely confused and frightened, who got in his car at 4 a.m. and drove 3 hours to be with me. I believed him. I still believe him. I don't know who else to suspect. The detective assigned to my case was a quiet woman in her 50s who had clearly seen too much to be surprised by anything. She sat in my kitchen and asked me careful questions and wrote things down in a small notebook. And when she was done, she looked at me with the kind of eyes that have learned to stay neutral, and she said, "The photograph being left at your door suggests they wanted you to know they'd been inside. That's either a threat or a message. Either way, don't stay here tonight." I didn't ask her which she thought it was. I stayed with my sister for 3 weeks. The police never identified anyone. The investigation went cold in the way these things apparently do, without resolution, without explanation, folded into a filing cabinet somewhere and left to gather dust. I moved out of that apartment in April. Different building, different neighborhood, higher floor, 2 deadbolts and a chain and a door wedge I bought specifically because it jams against the handle and cannot be turned from outside no matter what. I check it every night before bed. 3 times. Always 3. Here is the thing that I think about most, even now, 4 years later. The photograph was taken 11 days before that night. Whoever was in my apartment, whoever stood in the corner near my window with a camera while I was at work or asleep, or simply somewhere else in my own home, they waited 11 days before coming back. They didn't come back to take anything. Nothing was missing. Nothing was moved. They came back to let me know. That's what I can't explain away. Not the entry, not the footage gap, not even the photograph itself. The patience. The deliberate, unhurried 11-day patience of someone who wanted me to understand one specific thing. They had been there, inside my space, moving through my rooms, and I had never known. I have a house now, a real one, with a yard and neighbors I know by name. My boyfriend, my husband now, installed a full camera system the week we moved in. Every door, every window, motion sensors in the hallway. I feel safe. I do. Most of the time. But some nights I wake up at 2:47 and lie very still in the dark and listen to the building settle around me. And I think about patience. About the specific kind of person who takes a photograph and waits 11 days before using it. About how long they might have waited before that. Watching, learning the layout of a life, deciding when to make themselves known. And I wonder, the way I always wonder, the way I suspect I will always wonder, how long had they been watching before the photograph? And did they ever really stop? You're awake right now when you probably shouldn't be. Check your locks. Check them twice. I'll be back next week with another story, because there's never a shortage of people who couldn't sleep after what happened to them. Subscribe, And maybe tonight, don't think too hard about who might have a key.